Hello, everyone. This is Grace. It is December the 11th, 2020, and we are continuing our study in Revelation 12. So let's go ahead. We left off in Revelation 6. Let's go ahead and get started. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had the place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 score days. Now, I have a different definition for wilderness. I don't believe it's just a place of sin. I believe that it's a neutral place where you can find both the good and the bad. You see instances of sin, and then you also see instances of good. It's more of a neutral zone. Let's take a look at the scriptures that I found. That the slayer might flee. Now, here, let's start here. In the old days, if a man were to kill someone by mistake, and he didn't mean to kill him, like manslaughter, then he could flee to one of three cities that were governed by the Levites. And if the Levites believed that it was a sincere accident, they would give him shelter there, kind of like people take up shelter in a church. Or I don't know if they can still do that, but they do it on television all the time. So they would go there, and they were protected from the slayer, which was his job was to go and put to death all of the murderers and the people that were he was to go and slay the murderers and find them out and kill them. So that's what's being spoken of here. Then Moses severed three cities on this side of Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live. Okay, so let's go on. So it's a neutral place. Where is the wilderness? The slayer should kill his neighbor, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain city. I didn't look up the word, so I don't know which one. H4057. Well, we'll keep a lookout for it. No, we won't, because it's probably the wilderness, the word wilderness. That was the next verse, and I didn't even read it, so we're going to continue on. But we know that that city was a place of sanctuary for manslaughter. So we're going to continue on. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. So, good and bad. And this is the bad. Who led thee through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint. Okay, here's an example of good. Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. Every place wherein the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even into the uttermost seas shall your coast be. Okay, so that's enough. But I do believe it's a neutral zone for the saints and the sinners to live side by side, for good and to bad to happen. That's my new understanding. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 score days. Now, if you notice, they're feeding her there. We've already saw that the 144,000 are caught up to God. Let's go ahead and look at that again in Revelation 11. So it says, And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And that same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to God, to the God of heaven. So the remnant are still there. They're still there. So let's go back. I mean, they're still being persecuted, but they're still there. Now, the persecuted, of course, all of them are going to die. There's just going to be a small remnant left, if you don't recall. But we have to work with what we have here, okay? So the woman fled into the wilderness. This is the remaining church, where she has a place prepared of God. Now, she's being fed. She's not perfected, but they're feeding her there 1,203 score days. There seems to be some sort of synchronicity that happens in the Bible with this 1,203 score days. We see the same thing in the time of Yahushua. The apostles are sent out for 3.5 years to go to the children of Israel. And then after that, they go to the Gentile. So there's some sort of synchronicity that's happening with this 1,203 score days, even though it does work out to be exactly 3.5 years. And if you add the two together, it's 7 years. I'm just not sure if it's a real number or if it's just the allotted time. Of course, luckily, we did 14 before we did this, so we know what 100 is. 100 is an allocated or consecrated time for time for the I say time because that's what it is here. It's days. Okay. So for here we have the 2, which is for the 2 witnesses. The 1,000, of course, we know it just means it's a group of people. They have a common or shared interest or love, because they were the servants of God. They were the servants of Belshazzar, but they are friends and they all have a commonality. So the 2 witnesses are consecrated, and then it has the 3 in there, which is we'll just say God, because divinity. That's the word I was looking for. It's divine. It's a divine calling. So even though the 144,000 have been taken up, there's still witnessing that is going on. However, it's imperfect. They're still being fed. So the witnessing could be that they're praising God and they're living as an example. Or it could be what we read before, where, okay, the city's been destroyed, everything has fallen, but now the remnant have gone out to the other countries, and they are witnessing that Yahweh did this as opposed to some false god, because Yahweh does not want to give them an excuse to believe that their false gods did this. It would actually defeat the purpose. So now they are witnessing on behalf of God. Okay? So that's what's going on there. But it's not the 144,000, because the 144,000, this feed part here would not be used for them. So let's continue on. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was there a place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Well, why was he cast out? He was cast out now because he's proven wrong. I have no problem, by the way, with the old interpretations of Revelation 12. I believe everything in its time. And that revelation was appropriate for their time. But as new things begin to open up, we have more clear interpretations. Now, of course, there are fundamental beliefs which we must carry throughout the entirety of the gospel. But I have no problem with dual interpretations. And I'm not trying to undo anyone else's interpretation, but this is the correct interpretation for our time. And I do believe that. So the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. They were cast out because now Satan has been proven a liar. Now Yahweh has a church, a representative of him in heaven to witness on his behalf. Why do they need Satan there to tell him more lies? Why do they need Satan there? They have real witnesses there to say, no, he's a liar. The devil is a liar. So he has there's no place there for him. He's not going to be up there harassing those people the way he's harassing Yahweh. One moment. Okay, so they talk a little bit more about that in the next verse. So let's continue on. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God, because the first parts of the kingdom have been made up now, and the power of his Christ, thanks to Yahushua's sacrifice. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Now, all of his accusations, all of that is pointless. He has no case before Yahweh. Okay, so, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives into the death. And now it's just telling you why all of these things took place in heaven, because of the overcomers. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Oh, he's mad now. You mean he wasn't mad before? You telling me he wasn't mad before? Now we got to deal with great wrath. He was just kidding around? What? Oh, wait a minute now. This is not right. What? Anyway, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. So he's after the church again, and he's really mad. He's like, no, my time is short. No, nobody else gets through. And the women were, and the woman, and the woman were given, and the women were given women. Okay, and the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a times and half a times from the face of the serpent. Okay, so here, okay, let's take it step by step. Okay, the church is given 2 wings. We know that wings are a spiritual protection. The great eagle is the same great eagle of of Ezekiel 17, where where I don't know if it's Yahweh or Yahushua. I didn't pay that much attention. I really have to get better about that. Oh, Yahweh, great eagle with wings. Well, I'm just saying. Thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long-winded, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came into Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into the land of traffic. He set it in the city of merchants. He took also the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree. And it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it became a vine and brought forth branches and shot forth sprigs. That's a picture of of Yahweh or Yahushua. I'm sorry, I can't figure it out right now. It's not needed for our study. But that's the great eagle that is protecting the woman. So one moment. Okay, so the women were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness. So her protection is that she's hiding in the wilderness amongst the wicked. So 2 wings of a great eagle. Just a moment. Okay, so she was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a times and a half a times from the face of the serpent. So this is after this is during the 11th hour. This is for the 11th hour, church. Thus the times and a half a times. Where she had the place prepared of God into her place. But it's using the same verbiage here as it's her place. I hadn't noticed that before. Anyway, where she is nourished for a times and half a times from the face of the serpent. The times and half a times is because instead of the 1,260 days in Daniel, hold on. Okay, so let's look at Daniel 12. And Daniel 12 tells us, from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So when it comes to times and a half, it's not going to be exactly times and a half. This half doesn't mean half. I mean, it can mean half, but it just means that it's in the midst. Hold on, because it's not going to be exactly half. Half or middle. Half, which is one word, then middle, midst, part, 2 parts. All of the other definitions are not half. One moment. Okay, so half. And I heard the man clothed with linen, which was upon the waters of the river, which he held, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and sware by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a times and a half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So because it's not an exact 1,260 days that's given as times in Daniel, they use times and a half, because half, it does not necessarily mean half. Okay, so let's go back and so the woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle as her protector, and as for protection, she's put in the midst of the wicked. She is still being fed. She's still being fed, so Satan is not able to discern which are the children of God and which are his followers. So he can't do a whole lot to her, into her place, and she's nourished 4 times and a half from the face of the serpent. So the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So mouth is words, and he's using his words to kill or destroy the woman, as a deluge, kind of like the flood of Yahweh. So he wants, because he's trying to get rid of the church. Okay? And the earth helped the woman, but the church helped the woman. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. So this is the church. Look, they may be fake Christians, but they take it very seriously. There's only so much that's gonna happen until the end, where they make the law that says, okay, we're just gonna kill them. But they're not just gonna go out and kill them just like that. So they help the woman. The earth helps the woman. In a sense, they think, probably that they're helping themselves, of course. And the earth opens her mouth. This are the words or the law of the church, because church doesn't have really a mouth, so it's going to be whatever the law is for the church, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So he's able to discern. He's finally able to identify who this woman is, who the children of Yahweh are. And he's able to identify them because they keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Christ. So instead of attacking the woman, which didn't work, now he's making war with the remnant, and he can identify them because they have this in common. They're keeping the commandments of God, and they have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So that's what's going on under Revelation 12. We have already been through that once. It was so nice to just kind of review it again. There's a few things that changed. But at least that's down. And so we can catch up. We might do Revelation 13 as well. Haven't already done it once. It wasn't that daunting, to be honest with you. Now, we've already done the hard part. It's just a matter of putting it all together. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Until next time, bye. And Yahweh bless.